One Piece is a series with endless speculation. Oda has always planted tons of seeds for plotlines that would come hundreds of chapters later on in the future. Lola being the daughter of Big Mom and Thriller Bark, Sanji actually being a prince all the way back in Alabasta, and his relation with his family was first shown in Jaya. Or, most recently, the color spread of chapter 310 returning to prevalence as it seemingly foreshadowed Momonosuke's growth during the raid on Onigashima. Oda is very accustomed to setting up these long-term plot lines that will be resolved eventually, quote unquote. These have always been the best potential for theory crafting, and theory crafting is one of my personal favorite things to do as someone who's a fan of the series. Seeing some of them actually come true, like Sanji being a prince, I never personally would have thought of. I just thought he was a prince because he was very chivalrous, right? And then he actually was a prince. It was super sick. All these theories were really great, but they were all resolved, all the ones I listed before. So I wanted to talk about some theories that I think are really great, but at the time of this recording have yet to be confirmed. In this video, I'm going to talk about 3 theories that I find incredibly compelling or just really enjoyable as a concept, but don't have as much evidence behind them. But first, if you do enjoy this video and want to see more One Piece content, consider supporting the channel. This video idea was actually from someone on Discord who was just like, do this video, and I'm like, you know what, that sounds really fun, so I will do that video. Anyway, now that that's out of the way, let's get right into the video. Now, something pretty common that I've noticed throughout my experiences seeing all these theories in the One Piece community is that a lot of them revolve around characters we know little to nothing about, because that is literally the appeal. These characters like Blackbeard, Dragon, Shanks, Emu, we know like nothing about them even though they're so important to the story, and thus we want to add stuff or sort of figure out what's really going on with them. Now, for this first theory, I'm actually going to throw that completely out of the water. Don't get me wrong, a lot of those characters are in theories I really enjoy, but for this first one, it's for a character that's actually pretty relevant in the story as a whole, and that's Law. Now, this theory is personally one of my favorites because I just found it so compelling from the first watch, because this is actually a YouTube video and it's Law, and yes, I've mentioned it before in my channel, but it's the Laws and Swords theory. I absolutely adore this theory and I just find it incredibly compelling. I love Law's connection to Drake is discussed in such intricate ways. Not only is it in literally the page layout of the chapters that they appear in together, but it's also the fact that their backstories are connected and they're both connected to the Marines, and it's just, it feels so good. Like, it feels as though it's literally a puzzle piece that's just waiting to have that final piece put into it. And it's genuinely something I find so fascinating, especially when you look at some scenes like Law talking to Sengoku after the end of Dressrosa. If Law is actually a part of Sword, that entire scene could be reinterpreted in some way. And also, I love the theory because it shows that Garp is the head of Sword, which is another theory that I completely agree with, because Garp is definitely not the typical Marine. He has such a high status that they can't get rid of him, but Garp clearly doesn't like the Celestial Dragon, so him leading this sort of underground unit to try and undercut what they're doing just makes too much sense to me. So shoutouts to Randy for putting out this amazing video, and let's get into more of the weirder theories that talk about characters that, again, aren't really shown in the series ever, but I find these theories fascinating anyway. Now, if I were to think about every character in One Piece and the amount of mystery surrounding them, there are some that I would say have more than Blackbeard, like Emu and the Gorosei and Joy Boy, but Blackbeard's intense, menacing nature and his antagonistic role for Luffy and his potential to be the main villain of the series, besides maybe Emu. Again, I hope Blackbeard's the main villain, but if Emu is, that makes sense too. But Blackbeard's potential in the story is what drives him to be such a compelling component for these theory fodder, essentially. He is really just theory fodder, and I love every second of it because Blackbeard is just so compelling because his abilities are a total mystery, his past is a total mystery, and he's an antagonist who has been with Luffy ever since the pre-time skip, and he has such an important role in Luffy's journey as the man who caused his brother's death. And it's just the potential, you know what I mean? The potential of Blackbeard and all these theories is what makes him so compelling. Now, there are a lot of Blackbeard theories out there, but I want to talk about one that I don't hear as much as the Blackbeard is three people theory, which honestly would probably be in my favorite ones, but honestly, I think it's so confirmed at this point that I don't even consider a theory of that idea most of the time. It's almost like a fact in my opinion. But besides that, I want to talk about my personal favorite Blackbeard devil fruit theory, which is that he will have the Cerberus devil fruit. Now, I do want to give shout outs to Threevil and the Blackbeard octopus theory because I found that absolutely fantastic and really, really enjoyable. But personally, like I said, I just like the duality between the Cerberus devil fruit because one, Blackbeard with the three people theory, the three skulls on his ship, and Cerberus obviously being an agent of the underworld, of death, of darkness, being associated with Blackbeard, who has the darkness devil fruit, just makes a lot of sense to me. And obviously, Cerberus has three heads. But the main reason that I really, really like this idea is it's actually a duality with Akainu. Now, why is it a duality with Akainu? Well, in Marineford, Akainu used these attacks that essentially created these massive dog heads out of the Magu Magu no Mi. And in the attack that he used to literally eviscerate half of Whitebeard's head, the attack is literally translated as Hellhound. And Cerberus is the most famous of the Hellhounds. Akainu is meant to represent absolute order, while Blackbeard is meant to represent absolute anarchy and chaos. I think that having both these characters that are so firmly stuck in absolutes and ideals, having essentially the same ability, is really, really fascinating. The symbolism and the duality of even if there is absolute order or absolute chaos, there's still going to be this overbearing, inescapable hell that comes from it because of the lack of freedom or the lack of order. This theory reminds me a lot of how Oda just writes the world of One Piece itself. There are still good Marines and good pirates, but there are really bad Marines like Akainu and really bad pirates like Blackbeard. And now, here we are, the final one of this video. And this, personally, is my favorite theory in One Piece. And this is that the Red Line will be destroyed. I know it's kind of generic, I'm not gonna lie, but I just adore so much about it because obviously the Straw Hats are gonna go back to the Red Line and they're gonna see Laboon and they're gonna see all their friends from the journey they had along the way. Now, Brook's inclusion into the story, honestly, I was not a huge fan, but then the second he said Laboon, oh my god, my heart melted. Like, it was insane how fast Brook grew on me. That flashback was absolutely phenomenal. That was one of the few flashbacks besides Robin's where I was like almost in pain as well. I was like, oh my god. And seeing that Laboon has been bashing through the Red Line throughout the entirety of their story, having the Red Line be destroyed and Laboon seeing Brook would just be such a gratifying moment. But not only would it represent Laboon and Brooks, their reunion finally, but it would also represent many other things as well. The Red Line has been a system of control for the Celestial Dragons, where they're literally so far over everyone else that they're in the clouds. Now, having that system of structure of division literally be destroyed and them essentially being brought back down to reality, to ground level, would be really gratifying as well. And I could see that idea taking place not just with Laboon, but also on the other side of the Grand Line with Fishman Island. Now, there's literally a theory, a prophecy in the story that Luffy will be the man who destroys Fishman Island. And I love the idea that Marie Joie, which is right on top of Fishman Island, is going to get destroyed and fall down to crush Fishman Island, showing that the most oppressed people and the oppressors are both destroyed at the same time, which Luffy has always done in all these kingdoms. Like Dressrosa was completely destroyed. Luffy brings these places to the brink of ruin, not in a sense of chaos like Blackbeard, but in a sense of rebirth, like we can create something new and better from what was lost. And that's why I just love this theory so much. And I didn't even really get into the fact that once the Red Line is destroyed, that would also be the All Blue, which is Sanji's dream. And it's just, there's so many pieces about this theory that I just absolutely love. And yeah, that's why it's my favorite theory. There's just so many different dreams and attributes and things that have been built into the narrative and the goals of many of our main characters, and the fact that they would all happen succinctly, just again the puzzle piece, like, yes. So that's why this is my favorite theory. But I'm curious, what are your favorite One Piece theories? Because there's genuinely like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, and I'm very curious. So I would love to know what you all think down below. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider supporting the channel. I want to do a lot more One Piece content this year that's not just chapter reviews. So if you have any ideas for videos, let me know as well, because One Piece is pretty awesome and I love talking about it. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video and have a good one.